What's good, everybody? Happy Tuesday. How's everybody doing today? I hope well. I just like hearing myself talk. That's not the truth, but I like getting my thoughts out. And I know I don't get a whole lot of views on these videos, and I don't care. I just, some people watch them, some people like them. So I want to talk about this weekend, some things that are being discussed with the Cowboys, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So got the W 25-10 over Washington this weekend. And the first thing I want to touch on is all the Cooper Rush talk. There are, if you go to any social media platform and click on a Dallas Cowboys article, there's going to be comment after comment after comment of folks suggesting that Cooper Rush should be our starter. Cooper is better than Dak. Dak doesn't need to come back. We should trade Dak. All that kind of stuff. And number one, I really wish people would just enjoy that we won 3 games in a row without making it about Cooper and Dak, number one. But as we all know, that is not our fan base, and it's not, or hell, that's not even social media, how social media works. But number two, I need people to do some critical thinking, and all right. So last year, Dak led what was the number 1 offense in the NFL. All right. Prolific numbers for the Cowboys offense last year. Dak had arguably his best year. And with that said, I know Dak receives a lot of criticism for not beating good teams, right? Dak doesn't beat Green Bay. He doesn't beat Tampa. He didn't beat Arizona. He didn't beat San Francisco. He didn't beat the Rams. And the common thread, typically, that those teams have is they have good defenses. They have really good defenses. The teams that Dak lights up are the same teams that Cooper Rush is beating, and I use the term Cooper Rush beating lightly because it's not just Cooper beating them, but Dak typically lights up the Giants. Dak typically lights up Washington. Hell, Dak typically lights up Philly. We dropped 51 on Philly last year, and it's hard to imagine what a healthy Dak could or would do in these past few weeks to these defenses that the Cowboys have played. Number 2 or 3, I don't know where I'm at this point, but Cooper Rush said himself the defense is winning these football games. This defense is balling out. And again, these aren't great teams they're playing, given Cincinnati was a Super Bowl team last year. They haven't allowed more than 19 points in any game to start the season. That has not happened. A Cowboys defense has not done that. 4 games in a row to start the season under 19 points. Cowboys team has not done that since 1973. So please don't fool yourself into thinking that Cooper Rush is the next coming. Cooper Rush has played well. He did throw a couple bad picks yesterday that were negated due to penalty, so they weren't picks. I get it. He hasn't thrown a pick. He's played well. I think there's a lot Dak. I think the biggest person that can learn from how Cooper Rush has played is Kellen Moore. But there's a lot Dak can learn also in that you don't have to come out and win the game yourself. Although we pay Dak like he should win the game himself. We need to run the football. which we did not do well Sunday, but we stayed committed to the run. You got to run the football. And I keep saying this over and over. Play defense. Let that defense, let them play defense. And you have to make timely passes. And we need the quarterback to make a couple big plays during the game. Not throughout the game. Every moment has to be huge passing plays. That's our formula. And Cooper has done that. Dak can do that. We know Dak can do that. So maybe we only need Dak to come in and throw the ball 25, 30 times a game. Maybe we need 2016 Dak. Remember 2016 Dak? 220, 230 yards, 240, running the football. Defense was not as good as it is now, 2016. This team puts consistent pressure on the quarterback. So they're not always coming away with sacks, although I think they're second in the NFL in sacks to our beloved Philly. Consistent pressure on the quarterback. And we've got a obviously perhaps the best set of linebackers in the NFL. Secondary is solid. Which brings me to Trayvon Diggs, the much berated Trayvon Diggs, constantly a topic of his low PFF rating. Last year, at one point during the year, he was like 130th PFF corner. PFF is a joke, number one. Number two, I don't know where he's ranked on PFF right now, but the dude is having a year, okay? I think he leads the league in passes defense. He's got 2 picks, had several big plays, had a big tackle that basically ended the Giants game this weekend. He played phenomenal. I think he had a couple passes defensed, one in the end zone. He had a pick to end the first half. I think he allowed 1 catch. QB rating versus Diggs this past weekend was 0. Diggs is balling out. So where's the criticism of Trayvon Diggs? DaRon Bland. This dude balled out in the preseason. He came in Sunday, and he got off to a little bit of a slow start, and he's filling in for Jordan Lewis, who was hurt, a groin injury. He got off to a little bit of a slow start, but he picked it up, and he played like he did in the preseason, and ended up snagging a pick. The dude's a ball hog. He's definitely a ball hog, and it'll be interesting to see what they do, especially if Jordan Lewis doesn't play with Bland, because sometimes they like to slide Anthony Brown over into the slot because Brown is probably our best nickel corner with Jordan Lewis not playing, and they'll put Kelvin Joseph on the edge. I think Bland needs to be out there, but this weekend we're going against potentially the best slot receiver in the NFL in Cooper Kupp. Of course, they move him around a lot, but he does a lot of damage from the slot. I think the thing with Cooper Kupp, he's gonna catch passes. You're not gonna shut this guy down because he's running short routes. You have to keep the yak down with Kupp. We can't let him get yards after the catch. They have to contain him. I think that defense can do it. And I think pressure is a huge key to controlling and beating Stafford. But that's another topic. So completely impressed with DaRon Bland, Trayvon Diggs. This defense in general has been solid. Return of Michael Gallup, couple catches, a touchdown. He drew a couple questionable pass interferences, but he drew them. It's nice to have him out there. Noah Brown continues to make plays. I think he left the game with a neck injury
I haven't heard his status yet. I really hope we have Noah Brown this weekend, because I like Diggs. I'm sorry, CD. I like Lamb, Noah Brown, and Michael Gallup as my 3 receivers. And we got to be getting close to James Washington returning. Got to run the football better. We stayed committed to the run, but it was an effort in futility this weekend. Zeke looked explosive on that first play of the game where he took that dump off for like 30 yards. Zeke looked pretty explosive to me. He just needs a sliver of open field to turn that speed on. Pollard had mostly contained this weekend. The Rams, obviously, as you saw last night, they're beatable. Obviously, the 49ers have a very good defense, but so do we. You know, the Rams last year, I realized they won the Super Bowl, and I realized that it took Matt Stafford for them to win a Super Bowl, but I don't necessarily think they won that Super Bowl because of Matt Stafford. You know, Stafford threw his share of picks last year, made his share of mistakes. He played loose last year. He was able to. And I think they were better last year than they are this year. Definitely with their receiving core. They're not running the football all that effectively, which plays in our favor. I think we could sneak out of there with something. It's going to be a difficult game. And the last thing I want to talk about is Cooper Rush versus Dak, whether or not Dak comes back. I know Dak is, you know, looking like he could potentially come back this week. Please, please, please don't rush this guy back. My understanding is he's not completely ripping the football yet. He hasn't had a padded practice yet. He would have to have a padded practice tomorrow to play. But here's my biggest reason why. I think we're in a win-win here. Give Dak another week. Let's let Rush come out there against a legit defense. And if Rush wins and has a good game, all right, great. I'm happy. We won, which is what everybody should be. It shouldn't be immediately knee-jerking and run into this QB controversy, which if Rush beats the Rams, this Cooper Rush talk will grow even more. But number two, if Rush has a poor game, maybe some of that talk will die down and people will be clamoring for Dak to be back at that point. Which, no matter which game Dak was to come back, whether it be the Rams or Philly, they're both big, difficult games, both on the road. So these next 2 weeks are about to be a much different challenge than what we've had the last 2 weeks. And I'll even throw Cincinnati in there, because while Cincinnati has an offense, you know, the last 3 teams we've played, their offensive lines have been terrible. So I'm hoping that our pass pressure isn't elevated so based on the teams we've been playing. Because we have played, you know, some not great offensive lines. Although the Giants are 3-1. Kudos to the Giants. So that'll change a little bit too with the Rams and Philly. Anyway, I couldn't be happier to be 3-1. It's a great place to be, especially, you know, the way we looked week 1 when we lost Dak. Couldn't be happier with 3-1. I would these next 2 weeks I would take 1-1. I'd be more than happy to come out of this 6-game start to the season 4-2. I would love to get a win against one of these next 2 teams and get what I would call a signature win under our belt. You know, beat a good team. And I think now, like I said earlier, like I've been saying in every video, I think we have the formula. I think we have the formula now. The formula is not 45, 50 passes a game. It's controlling the football, not making mistakes, and letting that defense do what that defense do. Anyhow, appreciate y'all watching. Keep it real. I'm out.